Part 47. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 461. The second test of beast controlling is a duel. The disciples can't use their own power, and the only battle is spiritual pets. The first thing Lu Muan smoked was a disciple of the Imperial Beast sect. Junior sister Lu, please, the other party said with a smile. Lu Muan chuckled lightly, it's better to come first, senior brother. Then I'll be more respectful than obedient. The disciple of the Imperial Beast sect moved, and two 7th stage monsters appeared on the battlefield. Lu Muan raised his eyebrows, senior brother, show your cards, two 7th order spirit pets want to win the game, do you think it's possible? The disciples of the Royal Beast sect didn't care, and sneered, I think two 7th order spiritual pets are enough to deal with your sister-in-law, a master of formation. In the first test, Lu Muan contracted a mid-7th order monster for that person. He estimated that she was at the level of a 5th grade primary spirit beast master. The two spiritual pets he released were all monsters at the peak of the 7th rank. He guessed that they should be able to win. Even if they couldn't win, they still had a mentality to test Lu Muan's strength. Lu Muan touched the little white snake on his wrist, meow meow, go and play with that brother's spiritual pet. Okay, master. Meow meow answered cheerfully, flew out of Lu Muan's wrist, and when she landed on the battle stage, she transformed into a lovely pink and beautiful girl. The two monsters on the opposite side were still smug, but as soon as Meow Meow appeared, she was deterred by the coercion on her body. Master, she is an 8th order monster. One of them turned his head and said to the disciples of the Imperial Beast sect. The disciple of the Imperial Beast sect frowned, took back the two spiritual pets, and then released two 8th order monsters, one mid-8th order and one 8th order peak. Junior sister, although you have an 8th order monster, but I have two, it seems that the only one who loses is you, the disciple of the beast sect said with a proud smile. The monster at the peak of the 8th order was contracted by his master, and his strength was a bit stronger than him. Really? Let's wait and see. Lu Muan hugged her hands and smiled indifferently. Are the 8th order peak monsters amazing? Although Meow Meow is only in the late stage of the 8th rank, with her bloodline talent and strength, it would be effortless to trample the opponent to death. Senior sister's self-confidence is a good thing, but too arrogant is not good, the disciple of the Imperial Beast sect said on the air. Meow Meow snorted coldly, long-winded. Immediately before waiting for the opponent's two monsters to shoot, she nodded and smashed her toes with a small fist. The two 8th order monsters released by the disciples of the Imperial Beast sect are both the main body, only a few times smaller, but the volume is also much larger than Meow Meow. Seeing her smashing her little pink fist at the two monsters fiercely, many people laughed speechlessly. This disparity in strength is also too great. Is she sure that her little hand will not hurt? Roar, one of the 8th order monsters roared and waved their claws to greet them. Just a surprising scene happened. After the big claws of the mid-8th order monster hit the small pink fist, everyone only heard the sound of click, and then the huge monster crocodile was slammed and flew out and fell heavily under the battlefield. Then there was a miserable cry, and the paw that faced Xiaofenken fell limply to the ground, apparently being broken. Oh my god! What kind of monster is that pet that transformed into a little girl? It's too powerful. The disciples present couldn't help staring at the delicate little man on the stage with wide eyes. It should be known that as long as the strength of the body of the same rank between monsters and monsters is not too big, the key to winning or losing in battles is the power of monsters. But the milk doll released by Lu Muan smashed the place off the stage with one punch, and even folded its claws. This is too exaggerated. Just before everyone could react, the little girl had already flown and landed on the top of the 8th order peak monster beast. The two monsters quickly formed a ball with the most primitive hand-to-hand combat. It was just that the winner was quickly decided. The mighty blue-blooded Fire King beast with clusters of blue flames all over his body was beaten to the ground by the little girl who was constantly changing positions, and there was no room for him to fight back. "Little auntie, take it easy," the blue Fire King beast cried out and begged for mercy. Meow Meow's movements became more and more fierce. "Humph, your master is so annoying." She punched the blue Fire King beast with punches, and then everyone saw that the flames on the blue fire beast were completely extinguished. Not to mention, the layers of scales showed signs of cracking. "Little auntie, my master hates it, you go and beat my master." "I didn't offend you," Yulanhua Wang beast cried out in pain while begging for mercy. "Ow! It hurts to death." The disciple of the Imperial beast sect turned pale and black in an instant. Not only did his spiritual pet fail to beat the opponent's spiritual pet, he was also beaten up in a shameful manner. The most important thing is that he has now sold his master. Looking at the fierce fist of that beautiful little girl, he couldn't help chilling down his spine. Lu Muan, the woman's spiritual pet, is simply a violent maniac. "I admit defeat, I admit defeat," the blue Fire King beast, who was beaten so badly that his parents couldn't recognize him, shouted and admitted defeat. Hearing the monster under him admit defeat, Meow Meow took back her hand and said disgustedly, "I was tamed and raised since I was a child, and I lost my wildness. I have an 8th order cultivation base, but I don't have the strength to match it. I'm really a weak chicken." The ice halberd on Lu Muan's shoulder rolled his eyes. He wanted to ask, "Meow Meow, you were also raised by your master arrogantly, right? Is it really okay for you to despise people like this?" However, although the master treats spiritual pets well, he is definitely not ambiguous when he should be cruel. They are often thrown into the wild to challenge monsters of a higher level than themselves, and they have to support themselves if they are stupid. Of course, such a step-up challenge is not useless, on the contrary, it greatly increases their combat strength, and the combat experience is simply a heaven and earth compared to the few spirit pets released by the other party just now. The seniors of the other sects and the disciples present couldn't help twitching their lips when they heard the dignified plea for mercy from the 8th order monster. Isn't it said that the 8th order monsters are extremely arrogant? What's the situation now? And Lu Muan's little guy is too violent, he really taught by words and deeds, and he can compete with Lu Muan and Huo Linglong. Beiji sect disciple Lu Muan won the first game and directly advanced to the second game, the referee announced. After his voice fell, he heard a burst of enthusiastic cheers from the viewing seat of the 8 Extreme sect. Junior sister is mighty. Top level seats. The face of the master of the Imperial Beast sect became heavy and heavy. Obviously he did not expect Lu Muan to have such a powerful spiritual pet. The most important thing is that the disciple of the sect lost so embarrassingly that they lost all their old faces. Master Feng continued to raise his eyebrows and his face was red, but he knew that Lu Muan also had a 9th order spiritual pet trump card. He glanced at the black faces of the masters of the Imperial Beast sect and the Haoyu sect, thinking that there will be something that will make your jaw drop in shock for a while. It's too early to have a black face now. Master Feng couldn't help secretly rubbing his head, thinking about a few old immortals who changed their faces again, and his heart couldn't help but fly more and more. My evil Imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 462. Lu Muan won, a disciple of the Beast Mastering sect, in the first test of the Beast Mastering sect, and Shi Yuan, another disciple of the Beast Mastering sect, also won, a disciple from the Heavenly Secret Palace. After a half-hour break, the second match began. Lu Muan and Shi Yuan competed for the championship, and the other two competed for the third place. The second test is the championship battle, and it is still your own spirit pets to play. You two must not shoot without permission, otherwise you will be disqualified from the competition. Yes. The referee compared a gesture and said, "Now the competition begins." The two walked to the stage to observe each other. Lum Wan saw that Shi Yuan's whole person exuded a sense of sharpness and coldness, and his cultivation was a high-level sword master. Judging from the information obtained from Ming Xiu, this person is very hidden, and he is also the most popular in the beast controlling competition. Not only is this person very strong, but he is also a 6th rank beast master. He has 2 9th rank monsters as trump cards. According to the information, the bloodlines of the 2 monsters are not bad. Junior sister Lu, you're not just a rank 5 primary spirit beast master. Shi Yuan looked at her lightly and said. It had been rumored that Lum Wan was a first-level spirit beast master of the 5th rank, but after seeing her contract method and speed, plus the previous competition, he was sure that Lum Wan's talent for controlling beasts was not low. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows. Does it matter if I am a 5th grade primary spirit beast master? It doesn't matter. Shi Yuan paused and said, I pay more attention to winning and losing. That's all it takes. Lum Wan chuckled lightly. Senior brother, just let the horse come over. Shi Yuan nodded, then I'm welcome. In the battle just now, the Beastmaster sect lost all face. Although he didn't like the disciple who was defeated by Lum Wan, it was related to the reputation of the sect, and he could only find this place by himself. Please, Lum Wan smiled indifferently. Shi Yuan frowned, his mind moved, and 4 spiritual pets appeared one after another on the battlefield, all of which were 8th order monsters. Lum Wan squinted her beautiful eyes. This battle is going to be a group fight? Seeing the others' 4 spiritual pets surrounding her, she wondered if her own spiritual pet was missing. Master, Master, this time it's my turn, Shue shouted excitedly. Meow Meow is also gearing up. She has not had enough fun in the previous battle. You two, don't kill me. Lum Wan shook her wrist, and 2 rays of light, 1 white and 1 gold, flew out and landed on the battlefield, instantly turning into 2 lovely pink men, 1 man and 1 woman. Little baby. Shi Yuan saw Lum Wan's 2 spirit pets appear, and said indifferently and arrogantly, Junior sister has more than 2 spirit pets, right? These 4 pets are enough to deal with you. Lum Wan raised her chin confidently. It's arrogant. Shi Yuan snorted coldly and instructed the 4 spirit pets, quickly fight. Yes, master. The 4 monster beasts at the peak of the 8th stage were all in human form, and they soon surrounded Meow Meow and Shue. Meow Meow, I'll tie them up and you'll beat them. Shue's little face was full of excitement and turned to look at Meow Meow and said. Meow Meow squeezed her little hand and nodded, okay, don't let them run away. Don't worry. Shue rubbed his hands together and smiled. Shi Yuan's 4 spiritual pets saw the 2 little guys discussing how to tie them up and their faces turned black. Arrogant little things, let's see how we deal with you. A hint of red mist flashed in his blood gold eyes. He stomped his foot, and the entire battlefield suddenly shook, and strips of golden thorny vines waved and spread out from all directions. The 4 monsters that had approached them were instantly entangled by countless vines. They used their demon power to cut off the vines, but the little girl who suddenly flew in front of them pulled the vines and tangled them even tighter. The 4 monsters were furious, and they mobilized their whole body's monster power to break the entanglement of the vines. Who knew that they suddenly felt numb and lost consciousness in an instant, and the monster power even solidified when it was half adjusted? At this time, Meow Meow's fist also waved down, and it was a wild beating in the face of the 4 people. Shue did not show weakness, constantly waving the vines and dragging the 4 monsters to the ground and whipping them. Lum Wan saw the lips of the 4 immobile beasts raised an arc. She used the green mist to nourish the rhizomes of blood and blood with the toxins refined in her body, which made him evolve twice. After evolution, the bloodthorn toxin on the blood vine has completely stimulated mutation, and now it is an invincible existence to deal with monsters or swordsmen of the same rank. As long as it is stabbed by the mutated vines, the monsters of the same rank will be paralyzed for about a stick of incense. This effect completely determines the key to the outcome of the battle without any suspense. Ow, The four monsters couldn't move their entire bodies, their bodies were constantly being punched at their weak points by falling fists, and the whips slapped on their bodies were painful, and they couldn't help but let out a miserable cry. Why doesn't Xianxia's monster move? Someone with a numbscalp couldn't help but shuddered as he watched the unilateral abuse on stage. I don't know, it should have something to do with the vines. Many disciples continued to look at the battlefield in confusion. On the referee's chair. Are Xianxia's four pets poisoned? Asked the elder of the Formation Alliance. The monster that turned into a little boy is the cannibal king of bloodthorn vines. The bloodthorn on his body should have evolved. Once the toxin on the bloodthorn enters the body of the same level monster or sword master, it will cause damage for a period of time. Paralysis. The elder of the beast control tower's eyes lit up and continued, I really didn't expect Lum Wan to have such a level of demon plant. Haha, the blood sac of the man-eating bloodthorn vine king is an excellent main material for brewing spirit wine. The chief referee of the Danlu also saw the body of blood, and was very interested. After the competition of the 6 major sects is over, he really should go to the little girl Lum Wan for a visit. The light in the eyes of the other elders has not been hidden, the blood sac of the 8th order is a good thing. The head of the Imperial Beast sect originally saw that Xianxia had released 4 peak 8th order monsters and felt a little complacent, but they knew that Xianxia still had trump cards. But they didn't expect that in just one round, the 4 monsters were beaten and whipped by the 2 milk dolls, and their faces darkened instantly. Hey! Why is this girl so violent? Even as a spiritual pet, Master Feng sighed in distress. The principals of several other cases saw that his hypocritical sigh was actually showing off, and they really had the urge to slap him when they thought of it. Xianxia obviously didn't expect Lum Wan to have a demon plant with paralyzing toxins, and a storm of anger gathered in his eyes. Spiritual power quickly communicated with the other 2 monsters in the spirit beast ring. For a moment, 2 rays of light, one red and one yellow, flashed from his spirit beast ring, and then a man and a woman appeared on the battlefield. The coercion emanating from this pair of men and women was decidedly different from the peak 8th order monster lying on the ground. The disciples who were watching the battle all around felt difficulty breathing and a suffocating oppression. 2 little things are really arrogant, is this where you guys play? The burly man in yellow clothes attacked Meow Meow and Swexu with the pressure of the 9th order. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 463. The burly man in yellow clothes exudes a strong sense of heaviness in the coercion. Boom, the entire battlefield was crushed by the heavy pressure and sank by more than an inch. Although Meow Meow and Swexu are very strong, they are only 8th order monsters after all. Meow Meow turned into a huge giant python with a bulge like a sharp horn on its head, 2 transparent wings glowing with golden light on the back of the python, and 2 protrusions under the python. Up, as if trying to break the claws out of the snake's skin. The blood turned into a huge golden vine, occupying almost the entire battlefield. Hey, the red-clothed woman who was standing indifferently was surprised, and her eyes suddenly became more fiery when she looked at Meow Meow, a white python that is about to turn into a dragon, even has the blood of a golden dragon. The man in yellow looked at Meow Meow with more scrutiny and bloodthirsty excitement when he heard the words of the woman in red. The blood of the golden dragon, is this giant python actually the descendant of the golden dragon of the upper realm? If the 2 of them can devour and refine the blood essence of this white python, then there is hope of hitting the 10th order. Lum Wan's eyes were slightly cold. Meow Meow's recent evolutionary characteristics were too obvious. She used a hidden formation to temporarily cover her bloodline, but unexpectedly, the gravity just now broke it. Meow Meow is a descendant of the Golden Dragon clan. If the monsters of the Flood Dragon class refine her blood essence, It will not only improve her skills, but may also break through the 10th order confinement and ascend to the upper realm. This kind of temptation makes Meow Meow very dangerous. Now Lum Wan has seen the greed and inevitable victory in the eyes of the two monsters, and the killing intent in her heart immediately came out. Ha ha. The man in yellow burst out laughing, looking at Lum Wan as if he was treating an ant, and said arrogantly, "We want your white python." Lum Wan's stunning face was full of coldness, a murderous aura emanated from her body, and her voice was like 10,000 years of ice, "Just because you are worthy of my meow meow." Humph, even a weak human dares to be presumptuous in front of the seat. The man in yellow snorted coldly, his eyes widened, and a 9th order coercion attacked Lum Wan in an instant. Huo Linglong's eyes froze in the first viewing seat. He stood up and was about to go down to beat the man in yellow, but was stopped by the head of the Imperial Beast sect. "Huo Linglong, they are in the big competition. Are you going down now to lose Lum Wan?" Huo Linglong squinted her almond eyes, her voice was cold, "So what?" In her eyes, Lum Wan's life was much more important than that of the 6 sects. Don't forget that Dabi can't hurt the opponent's life. If Shi Yuan's monster wants to kill him, the referee will stop him, another head of the Imperial Beast sect said, not to mention the higher UPS of the sect are not allowed to interfere with the competition. It is true that you can't hurt the opponent's life in the big competition, but it can destroy the opponent. A talent like Lum Wan will surely become a shining star in the 8 extreme sect, but it may be a scourge to the other sects. Especially with her talent, if she rushes into the top 10 of other big competitions, the number of places for inheritance that has been calculated this time will be changed because of this. They don't want to see such a thing happen. Lum Wan's formation was number 1, and it was a big surprise for the 5 of them to rush into the top 3. "Huo Linglong, haven't you been praising Lum Wan for being a great genius? Why is it so urgent?" The head of Haoyu sect also stood up to stop her. The master of the Imperial Beast sect naturally has other sects, and they also do not want the 8 extreme sect to get the place of inheritance. Master Feng's face sank, and he immediately got up and said to several people, "How will our Beiji sect choose to take care of your business? Lum Wan's talent is so strong, even if she can't win the championship, her safety is more important, and he understands this. Such a talented 8 extreme sect must not be harmed." The 2 masters of Jianzhong glanced at each other, and one of them stood up and said, "How does the 8 extreme sect choose? You don't need to hinder it, right? They have the best relationship with the Beiji section. In addition, Lum Wan is the younger sister of Lum Yubai, a disciple of the sword spirit body who was accepted as a direct disciple by the ancestors. Naturally, they could not sit idly by. The atmosphere of the several hospital masters on the stage was a bit domineering, with a hint of anger on the exquisite and beautiful faces, and they were ready to fight. "You all sit down, there is an old man in Lum Wan who can't die." The referee frowned and said. Just as Huo Linglong was about to speak, she heard the referee's voice transmission, and after thinking about it, she snorted and sat back to her original position. "Linglong Huo, the old man also likes Lum Wan, you sit in your seat, the old man will not let her be abolished." Master Feng looked at Huo Linglong in surprise. Hearing Huo Linglong's voice transmission, Master Feng breathed a sigh of relief. If the referee was protecting them, they wouldn't have to show their faces to stop the competition. The reputation of the deputy owner of Danlu is definitely very high. He said that he will not let Lum Wan be abolished or killed. On the viewing seat of the Tianji Palace, a layer of frost condensed in the deep and dark eyes of Mingxiu. If he didn't know Lum Wan and the trump card of the spirit-devouring beast, he would have to go up and cut the necks of the 2 monsters. On the battlefield, the coercion of the man in yellow swept over, and Lum Wan's killing intent was even more intense, and an orange flame was about to burst out of his body. "Don't take action yet," Mo Yan's cold voice sounded, which calmed Lum Wan's anger a bit. These 2 9th order monsters obviously had the idea of Meow Meow's blood and blood. She couldn't tolerate the little baby who was raised with one hand being worried about her life, so she was a little out of control. Looking for death, an elegant male voice sounded, and the pressure of a ninth-order monster spread out in front of Lum Wan, blocking all the pressure whirlwinds of the man in yellow. Then, the colorful parrot on Lum Wan's shoulder transformed into a handsome man with the appearance of a scholar, blocking her in front of her, and his whole body released an icy chill. Although Bingji is usually heartless, but he has long brought Lum Wan and Meow Meow into his wings. These two damn monsters have seriously trampled on his bottom line, coveting Meow Meow's blood and threatening his little master. It is simply courting death. If he doesn't show his power, does everyone think he's a sick cat? Ninth Order monster. The disciples and high-level executives present did not expect that Lum Wan, who only had Jianzhong's cultivation base, would actually hide a ninth order monster, which was simply stunned. Looking at the demon beast that turned into a scholar and elegant man, it was obviously extraordinary, and with a single move, the coercive attack of the yellow-clothed ninth order mid-stage demon beast was eliminated. This level is not too low. The smiling faces of the masters of the Imperial Beast sect and Haoyu sect froze on their faces, and then instantly became extremely gloomy. They did all kinds of calculations, but they didn't expect Lum Wan, the stinky girl, to hide so deeply. However, the head of the Imperial Beast sect did not worry too much. After all, only they knew how Shi Yuan's two ninth order spiritual pets came from and how strong they were. Together, they would never lose to Lum Wan. That ninth order spiritual pet. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 464. The appearance of the ice halberd shocked the senior leaders and disciples of the various sects present, and even the two ninth order demon cultivators who were fighting in the sky showed a surprised look. The palm of the ice halberd made a piercing wind, and the pressure on Meow Meow and Xianxia collapsed in an instant. Two little reptiles dare to be so presumptuous in front of Grandpa Bingji snorted coldly as she looked at the two monsters, with a proud look on her face. The burly yellow-robed man's face was instantly gloomy, and his voice was cold. Who are you calling a little reptile? Don't think that you are invincible if you are the descendant of the Qingluan mythical beast, and a stinkbird who has only advanced to the 9th rank will dare to be here. We are arrogant in front of us. I really don't know what it means. Humph, it's useless to talk too much, let's see the true seal in your hand. Bingji had already been impatient to clean up the two reptiles. The red-clothed woman showed some sarcasm on her face, looked at the yellow-clothed man lightly and said, "This stinkbird is handed over to you." Row. Then Bingji and the yellow-clothed demon Jiu used various magical powers to fight in the sky, and Bingji's superb ice elemental force technique forced the yellow-clothed man, who had mastered the earth element, to step back. Then the man was furious, and with a roar, he transformed into a huge Huangqiao, and opened his mouth to swallow the ice halberd. The ice halberd snorted coldly, raised its head and squeaked, transformed into a blue ice luan mythical beast with glowing rays of light, and shot out the densely packed ice arrows with a wave of wings. Huangjiao was startled, and immediately closed his mouth and opened his mouth to spit out countless earth thorns towards the ice pick. However, the ice halberd is a divine beast, and has the inheritance talent of Qingluan. Although it is only the early stage of 9th order, it has the strength to fight ordinary 9th order late-stage demon cultivators. Only in the middle stage of the 9th order, Huangjiao began to show a tendency to decline after fighting for more than 10 rounds, and was forced to avoid the ice picks by the ice halberd, and was extremely embarrassed. The ice halberd intensified its offensive and used various ice attribute exercises. Gradually, countless tiny cracks appeared on Huangjiao's body, and blood gushed out. The woman in red who was fighting in the sky had a bit of anger on her cold face. She raised her hand and waved, and a flame erupted from the air into a powerful fire snake that burned towards the back of the ice halberd. Lum Wan squinted, You despicable and shameless reptiles really lose the face of a ninth-order demon cultivator. How can we still not be able to question you, a weak human being? The woman in red then fired a burst of fire at Lum Wan, which was no worse than the attack on the ice halberd. Lum Wan's right hand turned into a claw. Just as he was about to use the spirit fire, suddenly Meow Meow from the ground bounced up, opening his mouth, and a mass of misty water column spurted out. The water column fell on the flame, freezing it for 100 miles in an instant, and the flame was actually sealed in the air by Meow Meow's ice water. Then a few thick golden vines burst out of the ground and slapped heavily on the flames temporarily sealed by ice. Boom! After a loud noise, the power of ice and fire in the air exploded and disappeared into the sky. Master, this fire dragon, I will fight with blood. Meow Meow Nyonyo's childish voice sounded, but with a proud firmness. Shweshweroard, and hundreds of thick vines with blood thorns drilled out from the ground and wrapped around the woman in red. Meow Meow also quickly greeted her with a flick of the snake's tail. Although she couldn't immediately hurt the woman in red, it also caused her a lot of trouble, preventing her from attacking the ice halberd. The fire snake stretched out to the back of the fire halberd, and there was a hint of mockery in his eyes, and he disappeared in place with a dodge, and the fire snake hit the air. A water column volleyed out and extinguished the might of the fire snake. You have already activated the power of space. The woman in red repelled Meow Meow and Swexu while staring at Bingji with wide eyes. Qingluan possesses the power of space, and the descendants of the divine beasts also have the chance to inherit the power of space, but none of them exist. She didn't expect that this Iceluan from the lower realm would have this kind of talent, which means that the Qingluan bloodline in his body is very pure. Meow Meow and Swexu were slammed back by the red-clothed heroine again and again and landed heavily on the battlefield, but the two little things had an indomitable spirit. They failed to continue the fight, and it didn't matter if they were injured. That energy is the incomparable admiration of the countless disciples of the various sects present. There was a smile on Lum Wan's face, but there was no warmth in his eyes. I will help you. It's not bad to use the 9th Order Fire Dragon to hone the combat power of Meow Meow and Swexu. These two little things are belligerents. With the continuous knots on her hands, she immediately took out 4 bright white primordial stones and placed them on the battlefield. Get up, she whispered softly, and a green UN force shot out, which was formed by a formation. Green energy lingered in the formation, and strands of green energy rose from the formation and penetrated into the bodies of Meow Meow and Swexu. Under the nourishment of green chi, the countless blood openings on the white python's body were gradually healed, and the sluggish rhizomes were also revived under the perfusion of green chi. Chief Referee. What kind of formation is this? It actually has the effect of restoring the injury and blessing the UN force. The elder of the refining pavilion was shocked. The elders of the Formation Alliance also showed disbelief. This is the long-lost Ling UN formation. Ling UN formation? Is that the blessing and recovery formation known as a weapon for group warfare? The referee asked. Yes, that's the formation. The elders of the Formation Alliance showed excitement and complexity on their faces. The Beiji sect is worthy of being a famous sect of formations, but I didn't expect such a long-lost formation to still exist. Reserve. Several other elders nodded in agreement. Lum Wan should have such a formation technique taught by a high-quality formation master of the 8 Extreme sect. Lum Wan activated the Ling Yuan array to quickly heal Meow Meow and Swexu's injuries, and blessed the demon power in the 2 demons to keep them at their peak. This spirit element array was learned and improved by her in the Array Comprehension Tower. Although it was the first time to use it, it seemed to work well. Boom! Huang Jiao's huge body suddenly fell from the air. His breath was sluggish, blood was constantly spurting out of his big mouth, the scales on his body were beaten to pieces, and the whole body was covered in blood. The red-clothed woman was furious and used her whole body demon power to slap Meow Meow and the blood, and one dodged and fell to Huang Jiao's side. She took out a majestic spirit grass and quickly fed it into Huang Jiao's mouth, looking at the ice halberd with resentment in her eyes. "If you dare to hurt my husband, I want you to live rather than die." After her words fell, she immediately transformed into a crimson Jiaolong, with a dragon horn emerging from her head, and her two claws were extremely sharp. Not only that, she raised her head and roared, circles of blush swirling on the fiery red scales glowing with fierce light, and her cultivation level suddenly skyrocketed. In just a moment, the coercion emanating from the entire flood dragon suffocated all the disciples present. It was the breath of the late Ninth Order. At this time, even the judges who were sitting first and the masters of the various sects all showed their expressions of surprise. "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 465. The Jiaolong transformed by the woman in red is completely different from the Huangjiao transformed by the man in yellow. In the body of the Jiaolong, there is a bloodline of the descendants of the dragon race that has been separated by hundreds of generations. And Jiao only evolved from snakes and monsters. It is impossible to become a dragon. The gap between bloodlines is an insurmountable gap. Of course, although Jiaolong has the opportunity to evolve and mutate into an ordinary dragon family, it can only be regarded as low in the dust when compared with the direct bloodline of the golden dragon royal family in the dragon family like Miao Miao. Miao Miao and Xuexiu were both injured after being shot by the fire dragon. Lum Wan recalled the two beasts to prevent them from being on top. The fire flood dragon, who was promoted to the late Ninth Order by using the secret method, quickly fought with the ice halberd. "Mo Yan, Bingji isn't that Jiaolong's opponent?" Lum Wan frowned slightly. The bloodline of the flood dragon itself is not too bad. Although the ice halberd is a divine beast, it has only advanced to the 9th rank after all. Don't underestimate that stinky bird. He has already activated the power of space in the bloodline of the Qingluan divine beast. As long as the time for the secret technique of the fire flood dragon to forcibly improve his cultivation has passed, he can win. Mo Yan replied lightly. Lum Wan touched his chin and raised his eyebrows. "Aren't you going to help? Many hidden forces are eyeing you now, and now is not the time to expose my trump card." Mo Yan had no intention of making a move. He continued disapprovingly, "If a fire dragon stink bird with a hybrid bloodline can't handle it, then he can really go and apologize for himself, so as not to lose the face of the ancestors of the Qingluan mythical beast." Lum Wan couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth, and silently lit a candle for Bingji in her heart. "By the way, how do I feel that the fire flood dragon's method of forcibly improving its cultivation is somewhat similar to the secret method used by the Gu family? What do you think?" Lum Wan's eyes were a little solemn. Mo Yan's indifferent eyes were slightly cold. She just used the pendant on her neck to raise her power to the late 9th rank. The power fluctuations belong to the same family, and the Gu family and the group of men in black who assassinated you before should be some relationship. Lum Wan frowned deeply. After she returned from the Tianling Continent Hegemony tournament, the Gu family rebelled. Gu Yanran, who had already abolished her dantian at that time, disappeared for no reason. She always felt something was wrong. Although she killed the leaders of the men in black, there should be people behind them. At the same time, in the secret room of a small courtyard in Tianyuan City, a man in Xingyi looked at the image coming from the crystal wall and exuded a chilling air. 92 hasn't found a chance to start yet, his cold voice sounded. The faces of the people behind the man in Xingyi froze, and one of them replied respectfully, reporting to the master, "Because Lum Wan is currently in the competition of the 6 sects, it is difficult for 92 to find a favorable opportunity to get off the phone. Send the order to 92, even if he loses his life, he will assassinate Lum Wan." As ordered. The man touched the wrench on his hand, raised his head and continued to look at Bing Luan on the crystal wall who was fighting with the fire dragon, and continued to instruct, "If the 92 mission fails, immediately activate the 6 lurking killers to initiate a prefecture-level assassination order." "Master, Will killing a girl with a sword sect cultivation base to open a prefecture level assassination order will pay too much value, an old man behind him said. The killers lurking in the dark markets of the six sects are all first-class geniuses. If they reveal their identities for a Lumwian, it will be a bit of a loss. No, it's not big at all, the man continued in a cold voice. With Lumwian's current age and cultivation level, she can reach this level. If she grows up, it will definitely not be conducive to our plan. It's only a matter of time before the Huojiaolong loses. She can subdue the Ice Luan mythical beast that is much higher than her own. Her own strength is definitely not as simple as what we see now. The man saw that Lumwian on the crystal wall had blessed the Lingyuan array and used it on the Bingluan. Although the momentum of the Bingluan that had been suppressed and beaten had not changed, it was a good delay. As long as the Fire Flood Dragon uses the power to forcibly improve his cultivation, once it disappears, it is inevitable to lose. What? Huojiaolong will lose, the old man couldn't help exclaiming, but he didn't dare to doubt his master's vicious gaze. Huojiaolong is a demon cultivator that we placed beside the disciples of the Imperial Beast section, knowing if it will raise suspicion. Humph, it's just two wastes. If it was exposed because of this competition, it would be a shame. The man in Xianxia obviously didn't take the two ninth order demon cultivators in his eyes, and he didn't feel distressed at all when he died. Master said yes. The old man was also very dissatisfied with the behavior of the two demon cultivators who forcibly used their strength to improve their cultivation in revenge. By the way, how is that woman's dantian repaired by the name of Guyan Ran? The man in Xianxia asked after a while. The old man replied respectfully, there is news from the magic doctor that her dantian has been repaired and more than doubled in size. It should be able to withstand the arrival of the saint's clone. Well, is it possible to find a woman with all yin attributes? In order not to delay the plan of the Holy Maiden, you must adjust her body to its peak state, and shape her body at all costs, the man in Xianxia commanded cautiously. Yes. On the battlefield, Lumwian kept running the spirit formation to repair Bingluan's injuries. She used countless spirit stones to send it into the spirit element formation, and that trace of green energy penetrated into the body of the ice halberd, giving him the ability to fight again and again. Lumwian's spirit UN formation's repairing effect is very powerful. Even if the ice halberd is seriously injured again and again, it will protect his internal organs without any loss. In addition, the formations blessed with countless spiritual stones have also continuously supplied the ice halberd and the spiritual energy, so that his demon power has always been at its peak. After a stick of incense, the fire flood dragon really fell down like a deflated ball, and finally stopped at the early stage of the ninth order. Because of the side effect of borrowing power, her breath was sluggish at this time, and her cultivation level even went backwards, and a hint of despair rose in her heart. She didn't expect a monster at the early stage of ninth order to be able to stand in a stalemate with her who was promoted to the later stage of ninth order, and she didn't expect that the woman's cultivation level was not high, but the array she arranged was so powerful. Suddenly, the ice halberd let out a cry, and a cloud of blue mist spewed out of its mouth, instantly covering the fire dragon. Touch, then everyone saw an ice sculpture landing heavily on the ground. Sealed in the ice sculpture is the fire flood dragon, which has turned into a humanoid with a look of horror in its eyes. Bingji turned into a bookish man and landed next to Lumwian. His face was pale, and there was even wet blood on his lips. It could be seen that his victory this time was not easy. The fire flood dragon should be regarded as the strongest opponent that Ice Halberd has encountered since its birth. The stunned referee on the stage suddenly heard a voice transmission from the chief referee and immediately came back to his senses, stood up and announced, "The outcome of the beast controlling competition has been divided, and Lumwian, a disciple of the Beiji sect, has won the championship." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly Evil Wife is Too Arrogant Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 466. The sound of the beast-taming judge announcing the result echoed throughout the arena, making the disciples watching come back to their senses. At this time, everyone's eyes on Lum Wen changed, and no one would have thought that she would contract such a powerful spiritual pet. A giant python that is about to turn into a dragon, also has the blood of a golden dragon, a monster plant vine king, which is rare in 10,000 years. The most important thing is that the results of the competition exceeded everyone's expectations, and even the chief referee and the senior sect were surprised. To deal with the late Ninth Order Huo Jiaolong, even the several masters present here may not be able to drag the time to the time of her secret technique, but Lum Wen and her spiritual pet did it. The effect of that lost spirit formation is really great. The elder of the formation alliance side. It's a pity that it belongs to the 8 extreme sect, and it is impossible for their formation alliance to obtain the formation diagram. The referee nodded. If it weren't for that formation, Lum Wen and that Bing Luan would never have been able to drag it to the end and turn defeat into victory. But don't say, this little girl from the 8 extreme sect is very strong. With the formation and spiritual pets, I am afraid that she has the ability to fight us, the elder of the refining pavilion said. If Lum Wen can still achieve such astonishing results in the latter few items, the Beiji sect will make a lot of money this time. The referee rubbed his beard and smiled. Several other elders nodded in agreement. The 6 competitions this time are related to the allocation of places for inheritance. Lum Wen has won 2 championships, which means that she has won 4 places by herself. Sect high-level seed. Master Feng, your Beiji sect is really a blockbuster this time, one of the masters of Jianzhong said with a smile. Lum Wen alone has won 4 places of inheritance. Congratulations. The ancestors of the 6 major sects decided the way to compete for places in the inheritance land during the big competition. There are 60 places in total. The sect that wins the championship in each category can get 2 places, the sect that enters the top 6 has 1 place, and the sect that wins the most championships will get 2 more places. Haha, it's just a fluke, Master Feng said humbly with a spring breeze on his face. The elders of Haoyu sect and Imperial Beast sect really wanted to tear off his old face. What is just a fluke? If they can win the championship by luck, how can they not see their disciples by luck? This immortal is deliberately showing off his pride with modesty, which is too shameless. The next match is the talisman test, which is the strength of your Beiji section, the head of the Imperial Beast sect said sourly. However, everyone present knew that the favorites to win the championship this time were from Tianji Palace and Jianzhong. Of course, based on Lum Wen's performance in the first 2 rounds and her arrogance in smashing talismans, she should now be considered a popular candidate for the top 3. Master Feng continued to be cheeky and modest. The favorites to win the championship this time are in Tianji Palace and Jianzhong. That little girl from our sect is just making a little trouble. He won 2 championships in a small fight, what if it was a big fight? Master Feng, this immortal old man is too shameless. On the battle stage, Shi Yuan looked at Lum Wen with a gloomy face and said, Junior sister, now that you have won the competition, can you unblock my spiritual pet? Sorry brother, my spiritual pet is a monster with ice and water attributes, it can only condense frost but not break the ice. You can bring the pet back to the sect and invite someone who has realized the greatness of the fire attribute. Unblocked Lum Wen smiled sweetly. She was polite and modest, making Shi Yuan almost spit out blood. But he also knew that Lum Wen did it on purpose, so he put the injured Huang Jiao and the frozen fire Jiaolong into the spirit beast ring with a cold face. After the competition, the disciples of the Beiji sect cheered continuously, and all of them had proud smiles on their faces. The disciples of the Imperial Beast sect all seemed to be constipated, and their faces were black and stinky. After this competition, the disciples participating in the competition project under the major sects listed Lum Wen as the key target of prevention, and she also became the favorite to win the next competition. Lum Wan didn't stay much after the test, and went straight back to the yard to let the 3 injured pets rest. As soon as Bingji returned to the yard, he took a bottle of Lum Wan's medicine pill and went to retreat. It was said that he had a new understanding of the power of space. After this battle, Meow Meow and Swexu also improved a lot, and Meow Meow even showed signs of breakthrough. Early the next morning, Lum Wan went to the arena where the talisman competition was held with the rest of the sect. In addition to her, the people who participated in the finals this time are Xianxia. Junior sister, are you sure you will win the championship this time? Xianxia asked with a smile as he walked. Hearing Xianxia's question, the other disciples stopped chatting and wanted to hear what she had to say. I'm sure about 7 or 8 points. What about senior brother? Lum Wan said casually. Xianxia smiled bitterly. It's good for me to be in the top 5, how can there be such a talent as a junior sister? Senior brother is too modest. I believe that senior brother will behave differently. Lum Wan looked at him with a half-smiling smile. Don't look at Xianxia, who usually doesn't show mountains or water, but she knows that this person is hidden very deeply. He understands that the tower can understand the 6th floor, which is definitely the level of a 5th grade talisman master. Haha, then I will follow my sister Jian, and I will also try to make it into the top 3. Xianxia is no longer vague, he has no confidence to win the championship, but he is still a little confident to enter the top 3. After listening to the conversation between the two, Feng Yuan and Huo Linglong were both satisfied. If the two of them can rush into the top 3 in the talisman competition, then the Beiji sect will have 2 more places for inheritance, and if Lum Wan wins the championship again, it will be 3 places. Just thinking about it makes Master Feng extremely excited. Their Beiji sect hasn't won a championship for a long time, and they rarely make it into the top 3. It wasn't just Master Feng who was excited. The news of the 6 great competitions had already spread among the top forces and the other 5 sects in the Tianling continent as if they had grown wings. Lum Wan's game video was also sent back to the Beiji sect. The sect master and the senior elders of the sects were all excited after watching the video. Haha, this time, Lu Girl really gave us Bajizong a face. Beast Control and Formation won the championship. 2 unexpected Aorong slapped his thigh and laughed happily. The sect master also smiled, this girl really is a good seedling. This time, all the doubts disappeared. Even the elders who objected to Lum Wan's participation in the 6 competitions were all smiles and praised the wise choice of the sect master and the ancestors. A melodious bell sounded on the competition arena, and the talisman competition began. After Lum Wan walked to the arena, 70 or 80 adults' eyes fell on her. They also wanted to know if this little-known girl could get a good result in the talisman test today. Lum Wan has now typically become a dark horse in the 6 major competitions, making the talisman competition even more lively. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 467. As soon as the talisman competition began, the referee announced the rules of the competition to the participating disciples. There are 2 talisman competitions. In the first competition, you need to refine the talisman we stipulated to enter the next competition. In the second competition, you can play freely. Whoever can refine the talisman with the best grade will win the championship. Talisman competitions are generally not used for battles. After all, throwing high-grade talismans at the opponent can be life-threatening. Whoever refines them with the best grade will naturally win the championship. As soon as Lum Wan walked to his position, he found 2 strong gazes directed at him, faintly fearful and hostile. She knew from the news file sent by Ming Xiu that the 2 were the favorites to win the title of Tianji Palace and Jianzone, and both of them were 5th-ranked talisman masters. She calmed down and picked up the paper on the table and looked at it. The first request to refine was a 4th-grade high-level talisman watermark. There are 3 piles of the same refining materials on the table, indicating that there are 3 chances. Loom Weian took a piece of material and started refining it. Her movements are proficient, and her fire control skills are in place. She quickly finished refining the animal skin, animal blood, and other materials needed for the rune. When merging, the control of the flame was extremely strong, and there was no error in the slightest, and the 4th grade watermark was refined in less than half an hour. Her refining speed made the people present again startled. As long as anyone who knows how to make talismans knows that the 4th grade high-level watermark is a very complicated type of 4th grade talisman, especially when refining several water attribute materials. You must be very careful, otherwise there will be a trace of fire control. If there is a mistake, the material will be scrapped. Just like now, except for Loom Weian, the other disciples are still refining, and several of them have already made a sound of explosion due to the failure of fire control, and the refining failed. The speed of Tianji Palace and Jianzhong's 2 championship favorites is already very fast, but at this time, it has only reached the stage of integration. Compared with Loom Weian's speed, it is simply too inferior. Go to the first viewing seat. This girl's talisman talent, I think it may be above the formation method. Jianzhong came to participate in the team leader of the 6 sects this time, and there was a talisman courtyard master. Looking at Loom Weian's familiar movements and speed of completion, he couldn't help but admire. Even if the old man came to refine this watermark, it would not be so efficient. The eyes of the masters of Haoyu sect and Imperial Beast sect were filled with haze. How could this dead girl know anything? Master Feng, you have spent a lot of effort in cultivating this girl, right? A master of Tianji Palace was also very uncomfortable. Because of the variable Loom Weian, their favorite disciples who were 100% sure of winning the title in this talisman competition now seemed to be hanging in the balance. Master Feng smiled embarrassedly and replied, usually that girl figured it out on her own, and our Beiji sect really didn't provide her much convenience. What he said was not humility at all, but before he came to the competition, Zongmen gave Loom Weian an extra name when he opened the Tower of Comprehension. Compared to the Hope disciples that were hidden in the various schools before, the sect practice resources that Loom Weian got were really nothing. Humph, you old man should be shy. The master of the Imperial Beast sect listened to the words of the Master Feng and became angry, and with Loom Weian's performance, the 8 Extreme sect did not focus on cultivating the ghost capital in private. Do not believe. Since the Beiji sect dares to let Loom Weian occupy the 6 competition places, it must be very confident in her. Otherwise, it is related to the competition of the places of inheritance. Who doesn't want to rush into the top 6 with more certainty? It's just that you have such a level when you think about it, so don't you still have a lot of such geniuses hidden in your Beiji sect, the head of the Haoyu sect sarcastically said. Master Feng had a serious expression on his face. Achieving such a result is due to the little girl's own efforts. You don't believe it and pull it down. Others rolled their eyes in their hearts. We didn't believe it. Huo Linglong didn't join the quarrel this time, and she was actually not less shocked than other sect masters. After all, Loom Weian really didn't use much of the sect's special cultivation resources. She rubbed the teacup with her fingers, thinking in her heart that when she went back, she would go to the top of the sect to get more training resources for Loom Weian. Soon, the first competition was over. It stands to reason that the first person to refine the 4th grade advanced watermark can play the next championship competition. But because the first test was very difficult and the watermark was very difficult to refine, only 5 disciples who participated in the first test made it. Only 5 people qualified for the first round, so we will go directly to the second competition. I announce that the 6th place in this rune competition will be cancelled, and only the top 5 will be taken. The referee announced, you all use your own means to refine the highest level talisman. You must have prepared the materials. Now start the second test. Whoever refines the talisman of the highest grade wins the championship, and so on for the next 4 rankings. There is no time limit this time. After all, the time for refining the 4th grade advanced talisman and the time for refining the 5th grade talisman are absolutely impossible. Lum Wan didn't start refining immediately, but lazily wrapped his arms around him and looked around. Looking at her unhurried attitude, many people couldn't help twitching the corners of their mouths. Is it a joke for her to win the championship in the talisman competition? The other people took out the materials that had been prepared for a long time and started refining with a serious look on their faces. She was better, not only was not anxious, but she was like an idle person watching others refining around the arena. This is what the referee does. Lum Wan, haven't you started refining yet? Or materials that were not prepared for refining before. A referee on the competition stage was very speechless at her leisurely appearance, so she couldn't help asking. Lum Wan smiled embarrassedly, I have prepared the material, but I don't want to waste time refining it again. I will wait to see the grade of the talisman they refined, and then decide what to refine myself. Her meaning is obvious, she is too lazy to make a talisman of the same grade as others, so that she will have to do it again after a while, and she will make the highest grade if she wants to. Go to the first viewing seat. This girl is so arrogant, the head of the Haoyu sect snorted coldly, if I can't refine the talismans to suppress other disciples, I'll see where her face will go. This is not to worry about you, an old man. Your Haoyu sect doesn't even have the top 5 disciples. You are too embarrassed to comment on the disciples of other sects here, Huo Linglong sarcastically said. The head of Haoyu sect choked, humph. I will wait to see how Lum Wan of your sect wins the championship. His words were meant to be ironic, but Huo Linglong said along the way, so even you old man thinks Lu girl is going to win the championship. By your auspicious words, she will definitely not disappoint you. The masters of the other academies didn't answer with a smile on their face. In addition to her amazing combat power, Huo Linglong, a demon girl, few people could match her proficiency. Only the head of the Haoyu sect couldn't help but take the initiative to send it to the door to be humiliated every time. Lum Wan has started refining. Seeing that Lum Wan finally took back her lazy and leisurely attitude, took out a bunch of materials and started refining, and everyone's eyes were focused on her. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 468. Lum Wan took out a pile of materials for refining talismans, refining them piece by piece. Through observation, Lum Wan already knew what talismans the 2 champions of Tianji Palace and Jian Zone were going to refine. The disciples of the Tianji Temple made the Vajra Great Power Talisman of the 5th grade intermediate level, and the disciples of the Sword Sect made the 5th grade Primary Sword Mi Talisman. She can only win the championship by refining the 5th grade Advanced Talisman. After thinking about it, she took out the materials for refining the 5th grade high-level Invisibility Charm and began to refine it. Go to the referee's bench. What kind of talisman is Lum Wan trying to refine? The referee didn't know much about talismans, so he asked the elder of the refining pavilion. In the refining pavilion, apart from the refining master, there is also a talisman, and refining and talisman belong to the same family. The elder of the refining pavilion frowned and said, what she has prepared is the materials for refining the 5th grade high-level talisman, but I really don't know what talisman to refine. What? Advanced talisman materials of the 5th rank. The elders of the Formation Alliance widened their eyes. She won't be a senior talisman master of the 5th rank, right? It should be the elder of the refining pavilion said regretfully, seeing that she is very proficient in refining talismans, and the 5th grade advanced materials have been refined in her hands, there have been no flaws or flaws. How can such a genius be a disciple of the 8 extreme sect? If a talent like Lum Wan was dug up by his item refining pavilion, he would definitely spend a lot of money to train him to become a master of sorcery. What a pity. Lum Wan's concentration on refining the talisman was not affected by the outside world at all. Watching her hands lightly and nimble on the competition stage constantly refining materials one by one, it gave people a pleasing and elegant feeling. Because the others were almost halfway through refining before she started, so after the other four finished refining, she began to fuse. The other four had been preparing for this talisman competition for a long time. The talismans they chose to refine were not only of the highest grade they could refine, but they had also practiced them many times. The talismans refined by the four were all successful at one time. About half an hour later, a crisp and pleasant voice sounded, and the talisman made by Lum Wen was instantly covered by a layer of white light, and it took a while to return to calm. "Referee, I've also finished refining." The 5 people finished refining one after another, and the chief referee and several deputy referees walked to the test stand to let several people demonstrate the efficacy of the refined talismans. Then the 5 people demonstrated one by one, and Xianxia also participated in the second session this time. Unexpectedly, what he refined was a 5th grade intermediate level talisman, which successfully overwhelmed the disciples of Jianzhong, but was still a step behind the disciples of Tianjigong. In addition, the disciple of the Royal Beast sect refined the 4th grade high-level talisman, and his grades were naturally the bottom. Lum Wen was the last one to successfully refine it, so she was also the last one to demonstrate. "I'm refining a 5th grade high-level talisman invisibility talisman." Lum Wen handed the talisman he refined to the referee and said, "After the invisibility talisman is activated, as long as the elemental power is not used, it can cover all spiritual power and physical detection." When the referee heard the rare glimpse of this function's calm eyes, he asked with a cheerful smile, "How to activate this invisibility charm?" "Come and try it." Lum Wen approached the referee's ear and gave him the activation formula for the invisibility charm. After listening, the referee couldn't wait to pick up the talisman to activate it, and then saw a white light covering him. What is shocking is that the referee gradually became transparent with the white light and disappeared on the stage. All the disciples present and the senior sect who were sitting at the front were constantly using their mental power to sweep and try to find the figure of the chief referee, but they came to nothing. After a while, the referee lifted the invisibility effect according to the formula given by Lum Wen. He asked a little excitedly, "How long can this invisibility charm be invisible at a time?" "You can be invisible for about half an hour," Lum Wen replied. The referee's eyes lit up and then asked, "How many times can that invisibility charm be activated?" "An invisibility talisman can be activated 3 times, and the talisman will be automatically discarded after 3 uses," Lum Wen said. "It's not bad to be able to activate it 3 times," the referee nodded, and the serious old face smiled warmly. "Little girl, how about selling this invisibility charm to this old man?" Lum Wen pondered and replied with a smile, "The materials for refining the invisibility charm are very rare and expensive, and the disciples only gathered a pair of refining materials. Just give me a pair of refining materials." Rare is the most precious thing, so Lum Wen naturally made it difficult to refine the invisibility charm. "Haha, no problem, little girl, you will report a copy of the refining materials to the old man, and the old man will definitely find it for you before the 6 major sects compete." The referee carefully collected the invisibility symbol in his hand like a treasure. "Rise." Immediately, he restrained his smile, and declared in a righteous and serious manner, "Fuzwen won the championship in the Beiji sect's Lum Wen competition." None of the people present thought that Lum Wen not only refined the high-level talisman of the 5th rank, but that the talisman he refined also had the effect of stealth, which was simply too heaven-defying. If you have such a talisman, it is simply a must-have card for traveling in dangerous places, and it is also very useful to save your life. By the way, the invisibility charm has a disadvantage, that is, it cannot be activated during battle. Lum Wen looked at the referee and continued, "But as long as you get out of the battle, you can use the invisibility talisman in places where UN force will not be affected." "This is understandable," the referee said. "If the invisibility charm can be activated during the battle, it is not against the sky." If you can be invisible in battle, will you still be afraid of your opponent? If you can't beat it, run away, or sneak attack is definitely a weapon. If this invisibility talisman really has the effect of combat invisibility, the senior leaders of the various sects present will definitely not feel at ease. After all, Lum Wan is a disciple of the Beiji sect. Of course, although the invisibility charm cannot be used in battle, it is still very sharp to escape or detect information. If you encounter a strong opponent, as long as you temporarily escape the UN force fluctuation range of the pursuit, after activating the invisibility charm, the opponent will no longer be able to detect his own breath. The referee can see the value of the invisibility charm. How can other people not see it? Everyone's eyes were fiery, and even the two champions of Tianji Palace and Jianzhong looked at Lum Wan at this time, like a hungry wolf seeing fresh meat. Go to the first viewing seat. Old Feng. Your Beiji sect is hiding too deep, and there are such talismans as invisibility talismans that you haven't taken out before, the elder of the sword sect said half-jokingly. Yeah. Lao Feng, this invisibility talisman is a good thing. It's too inauthentic to hide it like this, the head of the Imperial Beast sect said with a smile. The masters of the other sects also agreed, and in general they expressed a meaning. They were all very interested in this invisibility charm. The corner of Feng Yuan's mouth twitched, but he didn't know how to answer. After all, how could he, an alchemist, know what invisibility charms? And these old immortals are too shameless. They used to call them Master Feng, but now they want to get closer to each other. Old Feng. Humph, it's useless to call you Big Brother Feng. He unconsciously cast a look for help at Huo Linglong. Lum Wan is a disciple of Fu Yuan, and the one who knows the invisibility talisman the most should be Huo Linglong. The most important thing is to deal with these shameless old undead, and only the demon girl Huo Linglong can do it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 469. Huo Linglong was also very helpless when she received the help from Master Feng, because she didn't even know that Lum Wan would refine the 5th grade high-level invisibility charm. Why do we have to show you the invisibility talisman in our Beiji sect? Your faces are really big. Huo Linglong's beautiful almond eyes squinted at a few people, her voice full of irony. She didn't know why Lum Wan made the invisibility talisman, but she couldn't tell others, and she wanted to mislead other sects and people to make them think that the invisibility talisman belonged to the Beiji sect, otherwise Lum Wan would be dangerous. Of course, she also guessed that Lum Wan learned to refine the invisibility talisman when she went to the Talisman Comprehension Tower. The principals of several cases were choked by Huo Linglong's words, and their faces sank. The invisibility talisman was refined by the disciples of the 8 Extreme sect, so it was normal to hide it and tuck it away. But not seeing it is one thing, seeing it is another. It is rare for a talisman like an invisibility talisman to reach their cultivation level. If you have cultivated to this level, who doesn't have 1 or 2 strong enemies, and having an invisibility talisman can be regarded as an extra means of life-saving. After all, after the cultivation base was used by the chief referee of the Juggernaut late stage, they could not detect his breath with their mental power. Linglong Huo, we just want to exchange some invisibility charms with the Beiji sect, and we won't take advantage of you. A head of the Imperial Beast sect said in a good voice. This female Tyrannosaurus has always been soft and hard to eat, but there is no way, they must get a few stealth charms. Huo Linglong raised her eyebrows and said with a chuckle, I can't do this. The invisibility talisman is taught by Lu's master. I don't know the refining method, so even if I want to exchange things with you, I can't do anything. Then who is Lum Wan's master? They said that Lum Wan's talent and strength are so powerful, and it turns out that there is someone behind it. No comment. Huo Linglong smiled, "This is the secret of our Beiji sect, and we can't announce it for the time being. When the opportunity comes, we will invite all of you to come to the Beiji sect to watch the ceremony." Several people's expressions changed when they heard her words. They also heard from her mouth that Lum Wen must be a disciple of an ancestor of the Beiji sect, and that ancestor must be one of the three, otherwise it is impossible to invite people from other sects to go watch the ceremony. At this time, they redivided Lum Wen's position in their hearts. If she was really one of the three disciples, her status would be much more noble than she is now. Since Lum Wen has such good fortune, I will naturally come to watch the ceremony when the time comes. The master of Jianzhong did not smile so fake like the others. Lum Wen is Lu Muibai's younger sister, and Lu Muibai was also accepted as a direct disciple by an ancestor of Jianzhong. Their Jianzhong naturally hoped that Lum Wen would be well. The other principals didn't say much anymore, but they were not ready to give up. When that time comes, let the disciples and Lum Wen get in touch with them in private. Several referees and the head of the courtyard had such thoughts, and many disciples also adored Lum Wen's invisibility amulet. Several geniuses from various sects planned in their hearts to have a good relationship with Lum Wen before the big competition was over. In the viewing seat of the Tianji Palace, Ming Ziyuking's unparalleled Jun's face was dyed with a rare smile, which made him look a little more human. Bai Fiyao looked at Ming Xiu obsessively, the smile overflowing from his lips made her feel extremely dazzling. Having loved him for so long, she naturally understood some of his dispositions. He looks gentle and elegant, like an immortal, but he is alienated from everyone. He is actually a cold-blooded man, but because of this, it fatally attracts her to love him more and more like a moth to a flame. But she never thought that one day he would fall in love with other women in a cold-blooded exile. Yes, she was sure that Brother Qi, whom she loved, was interested in that woman named Lum Wen. Bai Fiyao's killing intent and hatred and resentment kept screaming in her heart, but she still had that innocent and lovely look on her face. Ming Xiu's mind was all on Lum Wen, and he didn't notice Bai Fiyao's emotions. Even if he knew that Bai Fiyao liked him, he wouldn't care. There are so many women who like him, does he have to respond to them one by one? He was only interested in one woman from beginning to end, and that was Lum Wen. Other women were not much different from men or strangers in his eyes. Lum Wen's talent is too strong. A disciple standing next to Ming Xiu couldn't help but sigh, the effect of that invisibility charm is really exciting. There must be a lot of people who have the idea of stealth charms. Let's see if she can make some and exchange them, another person said. 5-grade advanced talismans are not so easy to refine. By the way, the next test is Danbi. I don't know who is more powerful than junior sister Bai and Wei Yu. One of them looked at Bai Fiyao and said with a smile. Bai Fiyao froze, and immediately showed a pure smile on her face. Senior brother Wei should be the most powerful, as for junior sister Lu, she should be pretty good too. She said so, but she didn't care. She is very confident that she will never lose to those two with her talent in wood spirit body and alchemy skills. Lum Wen has already made a name for herself in the first 3 items. When Danbi arrives, she will step on the other side to let senior brother Qi know who is the real arrogant girl and who deserves his interest and love. If Lum Wen knew what Bai Fiyao was thinking, she would have told her to go to the doctor as soon as she had a delusional disorder. It was simply a problem in her heart. Lum Wen's performance on the talisman caused a sensation again, and her reputation spread among the disciples of the 6 sects. After the Fuzhuan competition, she returned to the courtyard of the Beiji sect on the day that many disciples from the 6 sects came to visit, but all of them made Danbai, who was planning to prepare for the next day, refused by Huo Linglong and Lum Wen. That night, Master Feng called Lum Wen and Luo Cheng in front of him to speak. I got a secret message, which is not good for your competition tomorrow, Master Feng said with a solemn expression. Luo Cheng was stunned for a while. The news that Feng Yuanzu could show such an expression should be very serious. I don't know what the news is, Lum Wan also asked curiously. Wei Yu may be an advanced 5th grade alchemist, and Bai Fi Yeo is at least an intermediate 5th grade alchemist. Tomorrow, you will have this fierce battle, Master Feng sighed. Luo Chen gave a wry smile. He didn't expect to rush into the top 3 for a long time, and he had to fight hard to get into the top 6. Lum Wan smiled and said, "Thank you Master Feng for reminding me." Master Feng saw that she was still as calm as before, showing that she didn't care much, and a glimmer of hope rose in his heart. "Girl Lu, you and I have a low opinion. Are you sure about tomorrow's Danbi?" "I'm 70–80% sure. I will try my best to hit the top 3 tomorrow," Lum Wan said conservatively. However, in her heart, Danbi was also taken seriously. Master Feng heard that Wei Yu was a high-ranking 5th grade alchemist, but the man gave her the feeling of a rival, and she suspected that he was already a 6th grade alchemist. As for Bai Fi Yeo, she didn't put it in the position of a strong opponent, because that woman didn't reach the point of her attention. "Okay, 70% to 80% is not bad." Master Feng finally showed a relieved smile on his face. "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 470. On the second day, the Dando of the 6 sects was held as scheduled. When Lum Wan arrived at the competition field, he found that today's competition field was more active than usual, and many new faces emerged, one by one with extraordinary cultivation. She curled the corners of her lips. It seems that Bai Fi Yeo is very happy among the old disciples of the inner door of Tianji Palace. The clear bell rang, and Danbi officially started. Just as soon as he entered the arena, he heard the enthusiastic shouts of many disciples echoing throughout the competition arena. "Junior sister Bai! Senior sister Bai!" In this kind of shouting, it seemed that the disciples of other sects had become foils, and even Wei Yu, the most popular winner of the championship, had become a green leaf supporting Bai Fi Yeo's flowers. "Thank you for your love, brothers, sisters, brothers and sisters. Fi Yeo will do her best today and not let you down." Bai Fi Yeo smiled innocently and confidently after taking the stage. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows in disbelief. Bai Fi Yeo, a hypocritical woman, is really good at saving face. I am afraid that more than half of the disciples in Tianji Palace like her. Wei Yu has been observing Lum Wan, and seeing that she does not show any expression of envy or disgust towards such an outstanding Bai Fi Yeo, her heart is filled with pondering. Although he is addicted to alchemy, he is also extremely accurate in seeing people. This is his unique talent. On the surface, Bai Fi Yeo is simple and cute and has a sense of agility, but behind the scenes, the behavior is more poisonous than the colorful poisonous snake, and it is extremely hypocritical. On the other hand, Lum Wan is calm, seemingly lazy and flamboyant, but in fact, his true temperament should be a little indifferent, and he is more casual in dealing with people. Although Lum Wan also hides her true temperament, she is completely different from Bai Fi Yeo's hypocrisy. She disdains to pretend and make fakes. Compared with the two beauties, although Bai Fi Yeo is more attractive to men on the surface, he prefers Lum Wan's temperament. "Junior sister Lu, we also made a green leaf today." Wei Yu's position was right next to Lum Wan, and a proper smile appeared on his warm face. Lum Wan glanced at him and chuckled, "Green leaves complement beauty. I think senior brother Wei and Bai Myron are quite a match." Wei Yu's eyelids jumped. He didn't want to be in the company of Viper Beauty. Bai Myron already has a lot of green leaves as a foil, so Wei will not help. Wei Yu smiled. During the conversation between the two, Bai Fi Yeo's eyes flashed, and she walked over with a smile. "This time, senior brother Wei is the favorite to win the championship. Please give me more advice during the test later." She stood beside Wei Yu with a charming and lovely appearance, but she deliberately ignored Lum Wan. Lum Wan didn't care at all. She was not interested in Wei Yu. Bai Fi Yeo was too self-righteous. Junior sister Bai is more popular than me for winning the championship. I will need my sister's advice later. Wei Yuqingjun's face was full of jade-like polish, but there was alienation in his eyes. Bai Fiyao chatted with him a few more times, and was unhappy when he saw that he kept a distance from her without leaking. When she looked up inadvertently, she saw that her beloved senior brother Qi was standing tall and straight like a dazzling sun in the viewing seat of the Tianji Palace, and she suddenly felt a nervous excitement in her heart. Will senior brother Qi really see her goodness as long as she wins Danbi's championship today? Danbi starts now, I'll announce the rules. Bai Fiyao and Wei Yu chatted for a few words and returned to their positions after the referee stood up and read Danbi's rules. The Dan score is divided into 2 competitions. In the first competition, all the disciples are required to refine a kind of medicine prescribed by us. The spirit grass is also provided by us. The refined disciples enter the next round, and the disciples who fail to refine them automatically eliminated. The second competition is the championship competition. Each participating disciple can play freely, prepare their own spirit grass, and refine the highest grade medicine pill to win the championship, and the ranking below the first place will be deduced by analogy. Okay, now for the first match. Lum Wen picked up the pill on the table and looked at it, the 4th grade advanced Huiwen pill. Without much hesitation, she picked up all the spirit grasses in the first tray and threw them into her own kingdom furnace and began to refine them. Bai Fiyao and Wei Yu didn't have such strong mental power as her, so they could only refine each one individually, but they were skilled in their movements and took much less time than other disciples. There is a Zikuo in Huiwen Dan who requires strong fire control. He must first soften the cortex of the Zikuo, then roast the flesh with a slight fire, and finally change between medium fire and high fire. All 4-rank alchemists understand this principle, but there are very few alchemists who can really control the fire power at one time. Lum Wen's talent in refining medicine pills in both past and present life is excellent. In addition, she has a deep-rooted experience in pill refining. Her movements are always pleasing to the eye, and she seems to be the easiest person to refine pills among all the disciples. Lum Wen is so courageous that even Zhu Guo dares to throw it into the pill furnace to refine it together without fear of bursting the furnace. One of the head of Yaozong frowned slightly. In his opinion, Lum Wen used this kind of brainy again. The refining method is somewhat sensational. Is there anything special about Zhu Guo? The head of the sword sect asked inexplicably. The master of Yaozong explained, the fire power required for the refining of Zikuo should be constantly changing in low fire, medium fire, and large fire, but other spirit herbs do not need it. Lum Wen will refine them together if the fire power is not well controlled. It will explode immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, there were several harsh cracking sounds on the competition stage, and 2 of the disciples' furnaces shattered. Look, those 2 were caused by careless control of the fire power of refining Zikuo, said the head of the medicine sect. Huo Linglong raised her eyebrows. The other disciples can't control the fire power, but that doesn't mean Lum Wen can't control it. I didn't even say that she would explode. I just think that her approach is too unstable. Alchemy does not advocate rushing time. The most important thing is the quality of the medicinal pill. Huo Linglong sneered and said, why not if you can increase the time for alchemy? That's why it's hard for you to move forward as a 6th grade alchemist. That's why. Huo Linglong, you, a talisman master, have no right to question our alchemy skills. The master of medicine sect showed a bit of anger on his face. The head of the Haoyu sect took the opportunity to add fuel to the jealousy and said, Huo Linglong, you must think Lum Wen too high, and then you won't be able to be grandstanding and you won't even be able to enter the second game. Really? Huo Linglong raised the corner of her lips, pointed downward and said, you old people keep your eyes open, but Lu girl is starting to condense pills. When several people heard her say this, they immediately turned their attention to Lum Wen, seeing that she had actually finished refining the spirit grass and zuguo in the pill furnace together in such a short period of time. Den. A look of shock appeared in the eyes of several people, and their faces turned red and white. Master Feng couldn't help but smile. This is a timely slap in the face. Humph, a group of arrogant and unwilling old people who Olinglong pouted and was too lazy to care about them. A few immortals looked at Lum Wan's talent and always wanted to step on it. They were slapped in the face by the scene, didn't they?